Bienvenue à Ecosysteme.
Merci, Emily. Welcome to Ecosysteme, a podcast by Madiness and London partners that takes listeners behind the entente cordiale and special business relationship that exists between Paris and London. I'm David Johnson, Editor-in-Chief at Madiness UK.
And I'm Emily Pierre-Desmond, Director of Operations at Madiness France. Let's deep dive into the London and Paris ecosystems, meeting the founders, innovators, investors, and key stakeholders that are driving them.
Oh, and yes, Emily is indeed in Paris.
Thank you, David, but that's where the clichés stop. Let's get down to business.
For the third episode of Ecosysteme, I went solo, as Emily is not in Paris. Emily is in Dubai, networking and producing content from Gitex Global and Expand North Star. In this episode, we explore the intersection of finance and sustainability, and I got to speak to Oli Cook of Earth and Grégoire Hug of WeFin to get insights and advice for fintech founders on building a team, networking and scaling globally, and to hear why sustainability is so central to fintech in 2024. First up, Oli Cook, CEO and co-founder of Earth, talks about the space between finance and sustainability, the keys to considered growth, and how we can have choice and impact with every transaction. Oli, maybe you can start by just giving us a quick overview, your elevator pitch for Earth.
Absolutely. So we partner with banks, fintechs, payment companies all around the world to help them solve their customer problems. So increase customer activation, usage, top of wallet, engagement. And we do that using sustainability. So the overall principle is your customers love you more, the world's a better place because of it, and you have propositions which are unique for your business.
So today I feel we're going to be talking as much about fintech as we are about sustainability. If we can start with fintech, can you give a bit of an overview of the current UK fintech ecosystem?
Yeah, I think it's healthy at the moment. I think it's gone through an evolution. Everyone knows the funding challenges that have happened over the last few years. But there are some brilliant startups who are solving real world problems with good commercial models, which I think is fantastic. And then we're also seeing whether they call them older generation or the originals or the OGs of the fintech space, actually, hitting profitability, looks like some Monzo starting, etc. And that's a really good thing as well. It's showing that the model works. Fintechs are, successful in pretty much every metric you look at. And the talent is also really strong. So we've got lots of fantastic people who have been there and done it before, who are now either building their own businesses or on a different startup. So I think it's in quite a good space.
And maybe the same for the sustainability ecosystem, because you sit at the intersection of both.
Yeah, sustainability it's a growing area. I think it's a really interesting one because when fintech started, or not started, when it really started, people started to really kind of talk about it. Potentially people thought it was a niche, and it took a long time to get over that and realize that no, it's here to stay. It's absolutely here to solve customer problems and bank problems, all this amazing stuff. Then you talk sustainability, and the problem isn't a niche, right? The problem is a global challenge that we are all facing. I think the vast majority have got over the element that climate change is real. It is happening. It's happening to us right now. And it's quickly gone from maybe sustainability is a niche in fintech and banking into we absolutely need to be doing something in this space. So it's kind of accelerated way past that, which is a really, really good thing for all of us and society as a whole.
It is a good thing. It's something that increasingly we're seeing is part of the DNA of all businesses. It's not a nice to have. It's not a subject for discussion. It is an urgent need.
I think that's it, right? So, and we talk about this a lot at Ekko. Sustainability shouldn't be a side product. It's just embedded in everything you do. It's in the DNA because it has to be. If you don't up your game in this space, your customers will leave, your shareholders will go and put pressure on you, your employees, your teams will leave because they don't want to work at businesses that are not doing the right thing for the planet because it directly impacts them.
Absolutely. Alongside those challenges, what are the kind of industry-specific challenges for founders and startups in the fintech space?
I think the first one, like we said, is that the world's moved on from where it was before. Building a business has to have good unit economics. That's kind of fundamental now. Lots of customers know revenue doesn't really land anymore. So building a commercial model with good unit economics, I think, is super important. That's an evolution. The other big difference now is you need to kind of prove some of the key KPIs, which I think are really important. You know, if you've got customer activation is a big thing for you, you need to be able to evidence that your solution is better and you are really solving people's problems. I actually think this is a good thing, because this is what businesses should be doing. You know, businesses are there to actually solve problems, but also be commercially viable and successful in that element as well. So the evolution we've gone through of, you know, stack it high and then we'll figure out how to make money later, into a build good business models that are good from day one and are really thought through and considered, I think is a really good thing. I think we've also found, or we've certainly found, is that can take a lot longer to really think through your business, think through the problem you're trying to solve, think through your solution versus going straight at it. And that's good as well, because businesses are much more considered when they're growing versus we've got some money, let's just go.
I love the idea of businesses needing to be more considered, right? And across different concerns and stakeholders. Can you talk maybe from your experience of your position with Ekko Earth about how you're navigating the space between finance and sustainability?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. So the reason we I guess you can come back to why we built Ekko, why I'm so obsessed that this is a space that we've got as an industry, we've got so much to do. And the reason we built it is there are trillions of interactions around transactions happening every year across the globe. And if you think about the number of people who interact with a payment experience or a purchase every single day, it's in the billions and billions. And those transactions are where you can have a choice to do something good or choose to shop somewhere more sustainable or make a positive decision or use it as a trigger for something positive. So when you think about financial services and sustainability, there's a lot to do in terms of who are people funding, how are we supporting green energy projects, for example. But also, if you look at the customer point of view, how, as we as an industry, how can we help our consumers to make better choices? Because there's pretty much, bar social media, there's nowhere else in the world where you interact so regularly with a proposition that's directly at the moment that I have a footprint and I can make a positive choice. So it's an incredible opportunity that we should be doing more. Because if we have billions and billions of consumers, if we can help all of them make 10 or 20% better decisions every week, that's scale which governments can't get near. And then also you think about the impact that has on the follow-on. So if consumers start making better choices, the businesses they operate with will make better choices, the governments will move across again. And it kind of, you get into that beautiful circle, not a vicious circle, but a beautiful circle where everyone has to get better and better and better together. That's why I'm so obsessed. Financial services has a brilliant opportunity to do something really good here.
So in terms of making this circle work, you are a central part, but I imagine you're working with a lot of in collaboration and partnership with other banks and service providers. Can you talk about how they're adopting it, how you're going about that? I know you're collaborating, for example, with MasterCard.
Yeah, it's an interesting world. So we as a team are ex kind of bankers, financial services, built them, sold them all over the world before. And we have sustainability experts as well in the team to kind of combine the two. What we realized is that sustainability has a bit of a stigma to an extent in that it's not a commercial operation or not a commercial idea. It's a good thing to do. And I've sat in boardrooms of banks all over the place, and that's a genuine conversation. What we work really hard on is to help people kind of debunk that myth. Sustainability is a revenue opportunity for all businesses. It's customer acquisition, it's customer growth, it's increasing all the metrics that you have as a business through sustainability. So part of the challenge when we go and meet our partners and our banks is kind of get them over the hurdle or the initial impression, which is, I love it that you're talking about sustainability. What a fantastic thing to do. But my board are having a go at me, excited to have 3 or 5% growth this year. And it's a challenge. I've got regulators coming down on me and I've got blah, 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 blah going on. So part of our challenge is to say, oh, this solves those problems for you and makes the world better at the same time. Let's do that. This is a no-brainer. And I think there is an entrenched view of sustainability across the whole of the financial services world that it is a cost that I may ultimately, sadly, have to do, when actually you can flip that into, no, this is an opportunity that you're going to want to do.
It is a great opportunity with the advent of ESG, creating profitability, creating new entire industries involved for greater profitability. In terms of profitability, there was a kind of surge in fintech investment early 2024, but We're seeing investors shift more to profitability. I appreciate the two are aligned, sustainability and profitability. Yep. I think that is a really compelling argument. Have you got any advice for fintechs who are currently navigating the current funding environment?
Yeah, I do. And it also, I talk about sustainability one as well, is that VCs investors care about sustainability because they need to for lots of reasons, but they're still the same business who has to have commercial returns and the growth. Just saying you're building a business that's good for the world is fantastic, but it won't get the investment, or there's very, very few people who will. So it comes back to the key metrics, which are, what is the commercial model? Is there a problem to solve? How does this go to absolute scale? Now, how do you get to being a $1 billion business or whatever it might be, and those kind of levels of revenues you need for that? And it's really laying that out, that this is really considered, whether it's a fintech, whether it's sustainability fintech, starting back with, this is the problem, this is the scale of that problem, these are user economics, and this is how we're going to go to market. If you can then follow that up with, and here's my proof points and data points that say that what my hypothesis is true, then you really are on something. The final point, I think, for a starting fintech who's trying to raise money is the team is really, really important. If you have a team of people who are genuinely experts in the field, have been there and done it, even they're not in your team, but they're around the company helping you, advising you, which is something we did early doors, that really helps. Because from an investor point of view, if the unit economics makes sense, you've got some money metrics, it's great. But there's a team of people who I know will solve the problem and will figure out all the issues that you're going to face over the next 2 years. And the idea that you're coming to pitch me at is probably not the idea that's going to make us the money, because you're going to have to evolve it. Having that team around you is really important. So if you don't have them, which is, most people don't, go and find them through the advisory schemes. Go and get some NEDs who can come and help you. Go and get people who can do fractional roles or want to be part of your story, because they can really, really help you raise money and equally just grow the business.
So we've covered raising money, building a team. What other key institutions or kind of partners are out there in the UK for that you've experienced or that you would advise to others?
Yeah, the couple that spring to mind for me is one of our early supporters was MasterCard. They really backed us, they helped us, they promoted us, they've done lots of amazing things. They continue to be a fantastic partner of ours. That was really good for us and continues to be good, because when you're building something new, to have someone of that weight and that kind of iconic status next to you really, really helps. So it's kind of, there's a whole philosophy of the kind of what's found in effect. They were standing next to someone who has that kind of big presence and big reputation. If you're next to them, then you kind of steal some of their brand equity, and that helps you. That's a big one, I think, for us and people who are launching businesses. If you can help get a big name somewhere near you or supporting you, doing a partnership together, I'd absolutely go for that. The other one, which has been great for us, is we're part of the Grow London Global scheme, which is backed by the Mayor of London. And that's fantastic, because that's kind of fantastic to help you do stuff. And then if you look at a global, we're a borderless organization, we operate across Australia, MENA, Africa, America, everywhere. To go with that kind of government level reputation really, really helps. It just opens doors. People get comfort from the fact that you've got these kind of names that are associated with you. And that effect is really, really helpful when you're trying to scale your business.
You've touched on something which is central to this podcast series, which is international scaling, right? And it's great to hear you leading that conversation and positioning yourself as a borderless company. How does that look for you, the scaling internationally? I mean, I imagine with different regulations around the world, it's not a simple, let's open an office and we're there.
Yeah, we're a bit different by design for this. So if you're launching fintechs in different geographies, there's different regulations, different approvals, etc. you need to go through. We early on realized that Ekko is a borderless organization, and that's where we want to get to, billions and billions of transactions and customers all around the world. So to do that, we built a business so that we don't come under any regulation. We built it so we don't get any personal customer information, so we have to deal with GDPR, we don't have to deal with PI, all that kind of stuff as well. Meaning the challenge for us is we don't have any regulatory challenge. We can go anywhere in the world. We have no kind of requirements on data, etc. The challenge for us is actually, how do I land and sign clients in those areas? The early proof of concept. Again, people want to kind of look at a brand and go, where are you live in my market? That's interesting. Okay, I want to build something unique for customers with you. And the way we're doing that is through network relationships, partnerships. So we have built a team of people in the company and also around the company who have kind of networks in these areas who can do the kind of warm introduction or the kind of the reputation of so-and-so is working with us, let's have a conversation. And when we're in the room, it tends to be quite, it's quite easy conversation. We just need help to get in the room. So for us, the challenge for global expansion is how do I get to the people and the decision makers in those regions versus I've got to go and get a regulation approval. I've got to go and set up an office here. I've got to go and do X, Y, Z. I don't think we will ever be a team that has 50 offices, maybe 2 or 3 regional hubs. But other than that, I don't think we'll ever do that because we don't need it. And we've designed ourselves not to need that. And also we can talk about footprints and that's bad because then you have to travel the world, etc. It's obviously important to us as an organization. But if you can build an organization that can skip the regulatory and skip the issues you come with personal data, that means you can go borderless much quicker and global expansion much, much quicker, which is a huge competitive advantage.
And I love the idea of it being borderless, but based in London, right? It sort of consolidates London's position as a global fintech center.
Yeah.
You touched on the need for networking, being in the room with these people, these decision makers. Can you maybe talk about some of the best UK based events and some of the global events that you're sort of involved in?
Yeah, so globally or European, Money 2020 is a big one to go out. This was my first trip to Money 2020 this year. It's quite expensive to go. And we didn't really see the value until we went this year when we were ready for it. Again, it's kind of, with these conferences and events, if you're going to spend money, make sure you're ready to get the most out of it versus just turn up and take a picture on LinkedIn. Like, it's got to be actual growth. And the Money 2020 was phenomenal. For us as an organization, it was brilliant. Lots of interesting partnerships, great conversations, all that good stuff. So I'd highly recommend that. But it is a case of when you're ready to do it. The other conference for us globally is COP. Obviously, we're a sustainability business. COP is a big event. Lots of people in the room who are decision makers, and we can help influence them. So we're at COP, coming off at COP29. Lots of some exciting announcements to make there, and we're part of UK Pavilion, all these amazing things. I know that that's our market, and the people who we need to speak to are in the room. So I'll go there for the sustainability, and then things like May 2020, because for the fintech side of what we do, everyone's in the room at that point and, open for the conversations.
So go to the event, but go with a strategic agenda.
Planning for the event. Again, it's lots of planning. Who do we need to speak to? Or the pre-work, for example. And also really, really, really only go to the paid event if you're actually ready for it. Because they are expensive. To do it properly, they are expensive. Do it when you're actually ready for it versus just turning up. There are lots of free events to turn up and take a picture if that's what you want to do. And that has value. That has LinkedIn value for sure. And, brand equity value. But the big ones go with intent.
And closer to home, London-based fintech events, I imagine there's probably something every night of the week.
Yeah, there are.
Anything that stands out for you?
We go to lots. So Tech Week, for example, there's lots of fintech events that we go to. It'll give talks out, for example. There's a whole variety, I guess. Lots of those are actually free to attend. So my recommendation would be when they're free to attend, you can turn up, try and do a speaking slot if you can. That's done very well for us as an organization. But just try and attend and meet people. When they're free, just go for it. When they're paid, really think about it.
I think part of the success of London beyond the legacy financial centre has been the resurgence of, or not resurgence, the kind of dominance of London fintech and the associated ecosystem. Can you think of any other factors that are playing into London's sort of global status as a fintech centre?
Yeah, I think there's a few which are interesting. One is banks and fintechs work together here quite a lot. It's a well-trodden path for banks trying to help fintechs now and integrate them and test their new products. And I think that's a really good thing because in your local market, you can start to deploy products and do that. And then that helps the fintech community, helps the banking community up. That's a big thing, I think, which in London it is really good at. The other one is there's lots of good talent here, people who've been there and done it and have those kind of the scars on the back of the experience that they've gone through. And that also helps because you get much more effective and efficient with your deployment and how you operate the business. Once you've been there and done it 3 times before, I know the questions, I know where this is going to go, I know the things I need to think about in advance. And that just helps. It helps you be much more effective with what you do. I think those kind of key element. The other one I'd talk about is collaboration. And this is even more so in the sustainability world, is that everyone wants to help each other collaborate and pilot and test and do things together. And every conversation is, how can we do something that's interesting, that's relevant to my customers? And I think that's a really positive sign for the industry, because the more we collaborate together solving consumer problems, the better. In sustainability specifically, it really is. And I think that's because the goal is much bigger. The goal isn't just growing your business. The goal is helping with climate change and the biggest challenges that we as society have basically ever faced. So we have to do this together. Otherwise, it doesn't really work. So that's a big element as well. So I think sustainability is going to become, again, hopefully London will be one of the global hubs for that as well.
It's an important subject for pan-European, right? I think there's an opportunity here for your point of collaboration. London is, for me, the hotbed of diverse talent brought together globally, but locally, European and globally. Can you talk about plans for the future? You talk about being borderless, key areas, key geographies, key territories, or is it literally everywhere?
Everywhere. No, yeah. Well, yes, everywhere. So a few things for us. We just relaunched our new brand, which is really exciting for us. Again, we've got to try and, we're really focused on Ekko is how can we help people feel good about doing good? Because I have a fundamental customer philosophy that in sustainability world, telling you you're bad won't help. It just won't help. What we've got to do is help you feel good about the good things you do, and you'll do more good things and kind of grow that. So we've relaunched our brand. It's all very, it's fantastic. I love it. But it's very positive and yet kind of B2B2C model. The other big thing for us is we are launching more propositions, largely in the banking and the PSP space, which is really exciting. We've got a massive announcement coming at COP, which is in the sustainability space, will be a global first. And it's really, really exciting stuff, which I can't say yet. Otherwise, my marketing team will absolutely crucify me because it's a big, big opportunity and it's an amazing thing that we're doing. Markets-wise, Europe and Australia, US, I think are probably the top ones for us. But like I said, we're borderless. So we will go where the customers are, but they're the top 3 markets for us for sure.
We'll be sure to follow you at COP and follow that news. We're excited for it.
So we want to flow $1 billion to some of the world leaders when it comes to sustainability, from animal conservation to the preventing plastic from entering the ocean, to reforestation, to some carbon credits, for example, and some biodiversity credits. Our goal is to help billions of people make better choices and then help them fund amazing projects who are doing amazing things throughout the world. And our challenge is $1 billion, which is what we're going to go for.
It's a number that rings well in the startup ecosystem. It's a number that we all understand.
Yeah. It's not a unicorn status thing. It's a unicorn of impact. That's what we want to go to. And you think about it, kind of, you can throw $1 billion to these projects, and they are incredible projects, from Tusk doing their claws project in Africa, which is using technology to help lion conservation, for example. We can fundamentally change the game bigger than most big businesses or even some governments can do it. And it's all because you're empowering your end consumer to make that micro difference. That has this echo effect, hence we're called Ekko. One little thing, one transaction can have an echo all the way around the world. And that's part of what we're doing with our $1 billion challenge.
Thank you, Oli. Inspiring to go inside a borderless company and see how we can make better choices, and to underline why sustainability is more than a nice to have, it's a genuine revenue opportunity. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Venture capital is essential for the growth of companies. There's less than 2% of venture capital that is driven towards women and multicultural founders. We believe that investing in underrepresented founders is a business imperative.
I couldn't have not heard about the Morgan Stanley Inclusive Ventures Lab. I applied to the program at a time when I had a really exciting growth plan for Unfabled and needed to find the right partner who would unlock some of that growth for us.
And now we go to Paris with Grégoire Hug, CEO and founder of WeFin, to hear about what has made the French ecosystem so strong of late, and to understand how WeFin is making sustainability real and at scale for financial services. Grégoire, thanks for joining us today. We want to look into the French fintech ecosystem with you. I wonder if you can tell us firstly what that looks like today.
Yeah, hi David. I think the French fintech ecosystem is very dynamic. There's a lot going on. what makes the French ecosystem pretty unique, I believe today, is that there is a strong diversity in terms of sectors. I'm seeing French CEOs starting startups in insurtech, payments, financial planning, or for our case, in sustainable finance. So there's a lot going on today in the ecosystem.
And a lot of different trends. Are there any specific sort of verticals or trends that you're seeing that are really shaping that French fintech ecosystem?
Yeah, I think, first of all, well, it will not be a surprise to you, but the AI trends is particularly strong in France. But it's because in France, there's a strong engineer culture, and you have very good talents here to hire, not only talking about AI, but about data, tech in general. It's a very good place to find staff that will stay in your company and that will be willing to invest and develop strong technology. In terms of business vertical, I think sustainability is key in France. We are the master of regulation, which is one point. But on the good side of the regulation, a few years ago, back in 2016, the French government started the first law foster more sustainability into the economy, in particular in finance. And so there's a strong incentive today to develop new business models that are helping for transition, helping for other stuff. And in fintech in particular, you have quite a few new companies. So us, of course, we are one of the many sustainable finance startups in the ecosystem, but we could go to Avec, Greenscope, Sweep. A lot of the key player of the industry today in this particular vertical is definitely coming from Paris.
That's great to hear. I love the idea of Europe being a leader in fintech, but also in sustainability, and that's such a strong part of fintech.
Yeah, and I'm seeing more and more rankings about ESG fintechs or sustainability fintechs. So all fintechs that will either develop a new version of finance, but in a more sustainable way, or helping the actual players to change the way they are doing financing or investing. Typically on our side, we are helping guys like Natixis or Gen or whatever, other big player in the industry to consider sustainability criteria. And I think it's key. And in the European rankings, I'm seeing like a strong part of the ranking. I don't know the precise numbers that's coming from Paris in particular. So it's a good place to start in terms of sustainability.
And are there any sort of unique challenges that fintech companies or startups in general face in the French ecosystem?
Yeah, I think, well, France is part of Europe, which is clearly a strong advantage to develop your business if you want to go to Germany or other. But financial markets are mostly in the US. So whenever you are starting a startup in France, you will have US competition. So it means that at some stage, you'll need to develop a global brand. And I think the ecosystem is willing to do that. There was a strong incentive from the government to develop more, to grow companies. And I think it's working, but it takes time. It takes time because you need to build trust, build a global brand as well that will be considered by a US player and a UK player.
You say it takes time, but we've seen the French ecosystem develop and grow, I think, really quite rapidly over the last 10 years. How would you describe the French startup ecosystem in maybe 3 words?
Yeah, I would say diversity, to like complete what I was saying. In terms of sectors, in terms of business model, there's a strong diversity today. It's a very competitive landscape as well. So competitive should be a word. The good thing is, and I think it's participating into that growth during the last 10 years, is like people started to have ideas and to create companies and to create sometimes 2 or 3, 4 or 5 companies in the same business model. So you have competition, which is great because it usually helps you find the leader and develop a company that will be a leader not only in France but in Europe and the world. Talents. I think it's in particular interesting in France because you have, I said, a very strong engineer scene, but education is very well positioned in France in general. if you go to London, for example, and you talk to all the financial actors, you get a lot of sales guys that are coming from France as well because they are very well trained. So talent is key. And if you consider the French sécurité sociale and all the other advantage that you will have in terms of package, if you are living in France and you are growing your family, children in France, I think it's very supportive. Startups are amazing because it's growing and you've got challenges, but it's also an uncertain world. And having something that is very supportive from the government and from the French structure at the same time, I think it's a good balance.
That's great. And obviously you're here representing WeFin. I'd love to dive in a little bit into the mission of WeFin, where you sit within the fintech ecosystem, and maybe what you're bringing to the financial services sector.
Yeah, so WeFin is a fintech specialized in sustainable finance. I think you guessed with the first questions. Our mission is to help the financial industry to develop sustainability at an industrial level. So it means that our clients would be banks and asset managers, pension funds, guys that are doing investing or financing at billions or trillions level. And we are helping them to ingest ESG criteria with our technology and to deploy them in their investment and financing process at the billion or trillion level. So our role is to make sustainability real, but at scale. It's interesting because our play is that to transform the world and to have a huge impact on the planet with finance, we need to transform the actual ecosystem, so the actual financial industry, so the banks that are here. I don't think the climate has the time to wait us if we want to create a new bank or a new ecosystem. It takes 100 years. We are strongly confident that with our technology, the expertise that we've developed, we can help them do better, and we can help them participating into the shift of the world to a more climate-friendly world and a more social-friendly world. So today we have like 40 clients in Europe, UK, Italy, Luxembourg, and France. So that's interesting as well because you can see that starting from Paris, we can clearly expand to Europe easily. We've done 2 fundraising so far. 70 people are working at WeFin at this stage, and we are still hiring. So if you are listening to this podcast and want to join, we are happy to consider that hiring in all types of functions.
That's great. And within that, I'm sure you've faced a number of challenges and seen a lot of opportunities. Can you dive into some of those for us?
Yeah, we are a very classic B2B software in a sense that our business model is SaaS, and we are selling that to big institutions. We do think that's a strong opportunity today to transform the financial sector. And it's impossible today, if you are a bank or financial industry, to take a lot of time building a tech that will help you to better integrate these ESG criteria. So our market, we are seeing our market as growing, and we do think that the more time will pass, the more sustainability will be integrating into society and will have opportunities. The challenges for WeFin in the short term are more to continue to be international and to take the time to build a great relationship with clients. I'm going to explain so internationally, we've opened our second offices in London. Has been great, and the London ecosystem is pretty supportive. I know I'm here to talk about the Paris one, but having offices in both is something that is very strong for WeFin because it helps us to capture continental Europe and the UK and US world from London. So it's help us with these 2 locations only to cover a huge part of the world, I would say. And so it's a challenge to be international. And as well, the idea to develop the relationship for our clients is important. So we are selling to big financial institutions, sometimes guys that have trillions in terms of investment and financing. Hundreds of thousands of people are working on these companies. So it's great because they have budgets. It's great because they need startups to be creative, but as well it takes time. It takes time, and speed is the essence when you are a startup. Our challenge is to reconcile the two parts of the equation.
Along with the challenges of speed and the need for startups to move fast and the legacy partners and players to take longer, are you seeing that there's a more of a focus on profitability within the industry? And what advice can you give fintechs who are navigating the current financial climate?
Yeah, profitability is key now for all VCs, and so it's important for startups willing to get more financing to have a plan. The thing I'm seeing is that profitability has two legs: cost, of course, and growth. The more you get clients, the more profitable you can be. One of the advice I think is important for fintech today is not to cut to get the growth just for profitability. At some stage, maybe, but if you are Series A, Series B, then growth will still be key for your valuation. So it means that being sure of the commercials, of the marketing, of the sales, of the model that is behind, and making sure that this one is profitable is important. But for example, on our side, investment in terms of technology, in terms of products, to make sure that we'll capture the whole market, to compete with US actors. And this is something that shouldn't be considered in all the rule of 40 and profitability discussions that are going on today. So I think the focus on growth is still important, and just growth has to be considered in terms of the operational model and the marketing and sales model.
And so you're in a great position for growth with the Paris office, the London office, and those two things combined put you on the international scene for further growth.
Yeah, what Paris and London shares in common are the capacity to bring global players. In France, BNP, SocGen, Crédit Agricole, the Natixis Group, AXA. These are all global brands that people will know in all parts of the world. And if you win them as clients, if you have them as partners, then you have a great channel to grow. In our B2B world, I think is what's the most important, to have partners that can help you grow, that can deliver financing, that can be clients, where you can develop multiple relationships in terms of business. And I think in the UK it's the same. The two locations are very complementary. In France, you have very good connections with Luxembourg, Switzerland, with Italy, Germany, Europe in general. Whereas in the UK, it's still unique in a sense that London has connection not only with the US, which is well known, but with Singapore as well, and Hong Kong. And these cities are very important financial hub for us at some stage. So having the two locations, it's a difficult market to the UK when you're coming from France. And I think France is difficult when you're coming from the UK. It's a question of culture, but it's worth it.
Can you give us some maybe tips from both sides then? So tips for French startups coming to London and that unique culture, and then other startups coming to France.
The most difficult for us when we came to London for the first time, and we started to discuss with the first client, was to understand the culture. Of course, we got very good rugby match each year in Six Nations, where we see that we can do things together, and sometimes a great match. But talking about the sales culture, it's super different in the UK and in France. In the UK, it will be more business case focus, whereas France you need to combine the business teams that they can improve their day-to-day life, and that's the first step. And the reaction of people during meetings are not the same. Always this kind of very positive meetings in the UK, the first step, and very deceptive meeting in France for the first step, and then it's going better and better. So I think the best advice I had and is that we hire staff to better understand the culture because at some stage the products, the regulations are different, but it's the same play. You need to understand the regulations, to work with the ecosystem and develop. And it's usually some things that you already know. You know the recipe because you've done that in one market.
You've talked about how essential the partnerships are and the networks are. Any key institutions and players in France that you would call out for international startups looking to grow in the French ecosystem?
Yeah, you've got France Fintech. So France Fintech is key, a very strong payments and B2C network, but as well for B2B startups, it's important as well. It's a very dynamic team, and they have great events, FinTech Revolution. And finance innovation is interesting as well. They have a very strong B2B network. So if you want to connect to financial market players like Netflix, BNP or other, they are the ones you should discuss with. In the impact world, I think Finance for Tomorrow is as well, they have a new name, the Institut de la Finance Durable, but they are as well key. And I think it's interesting because the local players really are willing to develop partnerships with impact startups or ENG startups. So I think it's a key network. And in general, this network helped us to find our first clients, actually, in particular Netflix, helped us to develop strong relationship with them. And it's key for us. The number one customer acquisition challenge in France are reference in between clients that are talking about the success they had within during our implementations. So I strongly advise anyone to join these networks and to try to make the best out of them.
By being exposed to the two networks, so Impact and FinTech, you're doubling, expanding your potential.
Yeah, and sometimes people are thinking about big events like FinTech Revolution, which is great, but there's a lot of business-focused events, and for us in particular, in the asset management industry or in the impact industry, you have more local events, but usually you can find great partners there, and they are key to find the first clients. Discuss more in small events than in big events.
Have you noticed any difference between the London events and Paris events?
Yeah, you take deals earlier in London than in France, but jokes apart, I do think that you have more events in London. They are maybe more global than in Paris. It's interesting. You can even meet French clients in London. So I think everyone will definitely go there. In Paris, you have a few global events, but maybe less. But when people are going to events, they are really willing to business with you. The French landscape, they don't like to go to events and not do something useful for their own business. So I think it's a great place to start a business relationship or to find leads for your business.
So Paris, super dynamic ecosystem for startups, for FinTech, for sustainability, for impact and for purpose. Is there anything else that's kind of, and you mentioned AI as well as a huge growth market. Anything else happening in France that we need to know about?
Paris is indeed great for FinTechs, impact, etc. And I think what's key as well is the support from the government today. It helps to develop startups and to, build growth. Today, if you have a successful company and you have doing fundraisings with VCs and private markets, then you'll definitely have support from the government, so financing, debt, and sometimes tax reduction. So I think it helps, and not only talking about money, but in terms of image, the government will be willing to support you and to advertise for the startups. So it's a safe landscape as well to develop that. We are in the middle of a kind of a troubled period in France with politics. But I think what was done during the past 10 years will not be broken by any government now. The ecosystem is pretty mature and will continue to develop. And the support from the government has proven to generate, new activity new economic activity in France. So I think now we are really in a place where we can develop the ecosystem even further.
So with all that support, what's next for WeFin? What's just over the hill and in the future?
Yes, the team is 70 and we'll still continue to hire because we have more and more clients that are starting implementations with us and that are trying to develop their sustainability strategy, which is great because sometimes we are hearing the ESG bashing. If you are looking at what's really happening today, it's not the case, and people are doing more and more about the transition. So for us, next steps are developing the product, ensuring that it will be the number one software for financial institutions putting to do more sustainability. We are developing our London office. So we are hiring here in particular, 2025, we want to triple the staff in London, and we'll still continue to capture more of the market over there. And in Paris, where we are starting to be one of the reference in sustainability, we'll definitely want to extend our partnerships with clients. We have great clients that are willing to do more with us, so our challenge is to do that at a larger scale.
Well, thanks for your time and bonne chance. Good luck.
Thanks, David. And have a great day. Thanks for the interview.
Thank you, Grégoire, for sharing the tips to securing those first clients and partnerships.
Thank you for listening to Ecosysteme.
Be sure to check out the episode description for details and links to what's been discussed in this episode.
And hit subscribe to get the next episode straight to wherever you listen to your podcasts.
This podcast was recorded in London and Paris by Madness for London and Partners. The hosts were myself, David Johnson, and Emily Pierre Desmond, and the series is produced by Darren Ribeiro.